world. We're here at Higher Faculty here in Middletown, Ohio, our home studio. I'm Alfredo Peters, the owner.
Larry Carter, owner as well.
Sitting here with Vincent Edwards, man. Middletown alumni, Purdue alumni, NBA draft pick, was it 2017?
18.
2018.
Yeah.
We just want to chop it up with you, man. Hear about your journey, being a hometown kid, living the dream. A lot of kids, myself as well, had that dream of making it to the league, and you did that. So we just want to talk about the journey, man, and let's start off by talking talk about your experience as a Middie growing up here in Middletown. Like, what was the family like?
Family was cool. Growing up, born and raised. Dad graduated from here, decided to build a house here and decided that he wanted his kids to be Middletown Middie. So I think that was a neat. I think it was just a great experience. It was always tradition. And growing up, I had the luxury of having a big brother, and then of course having you and watching y'all play every day. Yeah, I was always around y'all at the parks. And I think a lot of kids, today don't have, or was fortunate enough to have, the big brothers I had with all y'all, like y'all whole class. So I thought that was pretty neat for me growing up as a kid. And I was always just at the games watching y'all. So I was just always trying to chase that dream. I just wanted to be on varsity, run out of the tunnel. That was always my goal. So I just really think it was cool, man. I always had a great family, great support system. The community supported me really well. And like I said, I always had my big brother, so I thought that was easy for me. I just kind of, went off y'all and got it off y'all and just kind of tried to make my own path. But it was always been a family atmosphere here, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, for sure. So many great athletes here from Middletown. Like you said, I was a varsity player. Your big brother was, my brother, so I consider you a brother as well, man. And I just remember us playing in your dad's backyard. Y'all had the court or whatever, and we 5 years older than you, and you was kind of competing with us early in high school. I'm like, hold on, man, you only like 9, bro. You should be hooping this good with us, man. But it was great to see you grow as a person and as a player, man. And we had a lot of great memories coming up, man. LC, man. Larry Carter's actually a record holder at Middletown.
That's right.
We got an NBA player, and then we got a guy that just, graduated.
Man, give yourself some credit, man.
Right. So talk about the process of going to Purdue University, man. What was it that made you choose Purdue? I know you had other schools, like Big Ten schools, like Michigan looking at you and stuff like that. What was it about Purdue that made you go to Purdue?
I would say the honesty of the coaching staff. When I first was getting recruited by them, Michael Shrewsbury, who was the assistant, he was actually at Butler. He was recruiting Bill to Butler, so that's how we kind of already knew him. And he was walking past the gym. We was playing in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'll never forget it. And he was walking past the gym, and I seen a Purdue shirt on, and I was just noticing scouts start walking in the game. And I was like, man, let me get down the court and do something real quick. So and I didn't really have any offers to my name at the time. It was going into my sophomore year. This was right before it, because Dayton ended up being my first offer. So I always got to give Archie Miller that credit alone. It was really hard to choose Purdue over them. I will say that, because just how straight up honest Archie was. And like I said, you never forget that first person to get your first offer. So we was in the gym. I got the ball, man. I did an in and out, went to the lane and dunked it with 2 hands. And after that game, man, interest just started picking up. And along with Dayton, Purdue was the second offer, and they were just always there. I couldn't shake them. And it wasn't even just Shrewsbury, even though he ended up going to Boston, and now he's back at Purdue. He went up following Brad Stevens to the Celtics, but he always kept in contact with me, even when he was in Boston. And then, Coach Painter was at everything. I couldn't do nothing and not look up or look around the gym and not see Matt Painter. He was everywhere, and that was one thing I respected about him. And he didn't sugarcoat it. Once I finally did eliminate the processes, I had to go through college visits, unofficial visits, talk to different coaches. He never sugarcoated. He never promised me anything. He never said nothing was going to be easy, nothing was going to be given. I think I respected that the most, because he told me, it's there if I want it, but I got to go earn it and I got to go take it. So that was just the mindset I took going into it, and I think that's just why I chose them. When I got there on my official visit, it just made me feel at home. Everything was just around me, and knowing the process, how college recruits go now. But I think that just made a hometown kid feel at home. And Purdue kind of reminded me a lot of Middletown, just bigger, obviously, but it just was a smaller Big Ten school out of most as far as like the community and it being its own city in West Lafayette. But the fan base made me feel like home, like Middletown made me feel, and I couldn't shake it. So when I got there on my official, I was like, man, you know what? Like, I don't need to take no more. Like, this is it. And that's how I committed.
Yeah. So speaking of fan base, you have a huge fan base that you don't know about. I worked at a physical therapy company in Indianapolis, and we were stationed in assisted living homes. And I used to put your games on the TVs during the times. And I kid you not, man, I was going to go get the residents, like wheeling them down in the wheelchairs, like putting them all in front of the TV. And as soon as I said I knew you, they were like, oh my God, he's from Middletown too? Like, oh my gosh. And I was getting so much clout, bro.
Yeah,
That's
man.
hilarious, man. So I would say, of course, you're talented, but talk about the process of being an athlete, growing up into transitioning into a collegiate athlete, and then eventually an NBA athlete. Like, how was it for somebody that say, "Oh, he's just tall," or he's born talented? Talk about the work that you put in, and a little bit of the grind, how it started off early, and then talk about that college grind as well.
Yeah, I mean, starting off early, like I didn't really like. My dad would take me to the gym. I wasn't like, oh, like in the gym every day, but my dad would like, let's go to the gym. And I think the one day when he used to tell me to go to the gym, but when I finally asked him, he took it serious. He was like, all right, now we're about to start really going to the gym. We're about to start getting after it. So that was me growing up. My mom was my first ever coach. So she installed those fundamentals, used the glass, free throws, box out. That was all mom. So I got to give her all the credit in the world for that one. But after that.
Your dad actually, did your dad play in the NBA? Or?
Yeah, he was preseason with Philly with the 76ers, and then overseas came with a bag. So he took that at the time and left, but he just wanted to do it to prove himself because a lot of people said he couldn't, and he went to Wright State, which a lot of people didn't know about at the time. But when it was time for him to perform, like against Ohio State or at Indiana, like he put up some big games. And his junior year, I think he averaged like 25 and like he's big numbers, all-time leading scorer, rebounder, he's top in assists. So he's up there, man, Hall of Famer at Wright State. But he made it, and he understood it, and I think that was the blueprint I had. I kind of had a cheat code. I'm not gonna lie, to have a father that make that of his career, and we got to watch and travel over in Europe and watch him play. I think that was the best because I got the best of both worlds. While everybody over here at my age was focused on NBA, I got to focus on European. I got to see the Tony Parkers, Andre Karolinkos, everybody, Michael Pietrus twins. Like, I got to see all those guys before they came over here, the Manus. So I just thought that was really cool on my part because as I got older, I was like, oh, that dude look familiar, And then obviously they started migrating and coming over here and trying to prove themselves. So I think that was a big part for me, is be able to take that at an early age and watch that. And it kept progressing, man. I kept getting older, better, bigger, taller. And I used to be a big man because I was the tallest out of my group. And my brother and my dad started the Tar Heels, and that's how we got going with my age group. And then eventually my friends started growing with me. So then we had to kind of make a move, and they was like, who in here can play the wing? And they kind of just looked at me because they see my brother and my dad, and they was like, you know what? Like, we're going to move Vince out here because I had dudes like, Chance Sorrell, Kyle Shouse, those dudes, Alex Weineke, Garrett Downey, all Middletown kids. They was just my height at the time. We all 6th grade, 5th grade. We all almost 6 foot, 5'11". So we kind of had to spread out and do it that way. But it was just always a grind. Like, it was always, go to the gym and do it. But if I know what I know now, it'd have been a different experience. But once I got to high school, that's when I really kind of started to see like how different of a grind it had to be, just as far as like being a freshman on varsity. I'm used to being one of the best or the best on the floor on a team. And I think that's what kind of made me realize and grow early that you're going to have to start playing against older guys, or it's always going to be somebody your age or somebody always working. And that's what my dad tried to teach us because he was always a gym rat. And my mom as well. She was always just on that. My mom was the biggest on fundamentals, like I said, and I think that's one thing that helped separate me was because I wasn't always trying to be flashy. Like, I stayed fundamentally sound and just did what I was asked of. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, because with media nowadays, especially social media, is not what it was now. And a lot of kids see all the flashy stuff and they get lost in it. And I think fundamentals is like the biggest thing that you got to have before you can even get flashy. So I want to say like that's important too. But the grind, man, it just kept going, and obviously it just kept going. So freshman year, I wasn't really ranked. Nobody really knew about me. And then I can remember playing football, and I was playing quarterback, and I went to a fall showcase, because, you know, they be having like the basketball fall showcases, and my friends was killing me. I'm like, dudes I'm battling with going at it at AU, like they start killing me. And I'm like, man, I've been picking up a football for too long. So then me and my mom finally had a conversation about playing football and basketball, and she was like, you got to choose. She was like, you're way too tall. She was like, 6'5", they diving at your knees, what you gonna do? And I was like, you know what? And the only thing that played back in my head was my peers that I was playing with at a showcase killing me. And I'm like, I put the football down. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pick this basketball, but we gonna make something out of it. And I just started working. I started getting after it. I started going after it. I would sometimes get up in the mornings before school, go get shots up. I would just try to stay out there and get shots up, even though my mom would be like, yo, come home, you got homework, like do this, do that. I was just trying to find little things, and I was always watching them. I think they don't understand, like I give them the most credit, because I was always watching them, taking everything from them. And obviously, you know, you look at the pros, you try to take stuff. At the time, it's like LeBron's, you know, Carmelo's, like guys like that, guys that were in my position at the same position I played. But I was always taking from them. Like everything they was doing, I'm like, man, like they showed me the blueprint without even knowing. So I was just kind of always doing that, going through middle school and high school. And then once I got to college, it was just a whole new gear. Because like I said, you know, I wasn't really ranked my freshman and sophomore year. And sophomore year is when I really started getting it in high school. And then I started getting invited to camps, and my exposure started getting better. And the grind kept going. And then once I got to college, I would say the physicality of it is what really got me. Because my freshman year, even though I wasn't the most physical in high school, I was able to adjust because I could shoot the ball from long range. Like, so I found ways to, you know, nitpick and niche. And then I had to college, and I kind of blended in a little bit, because my dad believed in, if you lift weights to stunt your growth, like all that type of stuff coming up. So we weren't allowed to do none of that. So when I got to college, it was all new to me, lifting. I remember the first time I did squats, I threw my back out. I was out for like a week or two, because and it wasn't the college coach's fault, like the strength coach, like he was a good dude. His name's Josh Bonatar. Still keep in touch with him to this day. He was with the Bulls before he came to us. But he was showing me, and then I was like, all right, cool. I got under the bar, wrong technique, wrong movement, tweaked my back. And so then I had to learn how to deadlift. I had to learn how to go all the way back around and route through. But I think the grind on that is kids don't realize, or young men or teenagers don't realize the discipline it takes. And I think that's the biggest factor, is the discipline side of it, because when you're grinding, you got to stay disciplined. It's easy to short a rep or skip a block because you don't think somebody looking at you. And those things hurt me my freshman year. I should. I ain't gonna give you all the glitter and the glamour. You can get the ugly too. I had times my freshman year where I was skipping lifts, not going to this, not going to that, or I don't see my college coach looking, so I go and skip the rep. And it showed. I went from leading the team and scoring as a freshman, like people was talking about me nationally, to conference play came, and I didn't realize the study that teams do, because you play each other more than once. So people had about 6, 7, 8 games of your film. And versus when I was playing non-conference, these teams had never seen me. I'm a freshman, so they're not respecting me. They're only looking at the guys who came in. And by the time I got to conference, I earned that respect, because people saw that I was a solid, talented freshman at an early age, early going on, and earned a starting spot, rightfully so. And just kind of went about it that way. But it hindered me my freshman year, because like I said, I didn't take the time to study and do the techniques. The things that I was taught, the things that I already knew, I just wasn't mindful of them. And I was just like, whatever, I can get away from them. I can get away with it. I can do this. I can go do that. Like, it ain't gonna matter. And those are the things that started to hurt me, because I wasn't as in tune with my film, my lifting, you know, whether it was schoolwork, anything. Like, I was just finding anything to get out of any little thing. I'm like, man, I hate college right now. Like, I don't want to do this. And I had a lot of those days, but then a couple times I had to, you know, kind of remind myself, like, you know what, like, we can make it work. We can do this. And I think those, like I said, it's the disciplinary of the grind. And being in college, as my sophomore year came, I put a lot more focus into everything. I put on like 10 pounds of muscle. Ended up going to sophomore year like 225, like 190 as a freshman and 225 as a sophomore. And I grew another inch, so I was officially 6'8", and things started taking off because I was waking up. Bill was getting me up every day at the gym, and we was going to Mom every day, every morning. I was doing some type of band work, or we was going to DM, and I was doing some type of lift, and I couldn't escape it. Like, my brother was coming in there dragging me out of bed because they watched my freshman year and they, seen the things that I needed to work on. And I think that was one thing. A lot of guys or a lot of athletes don't have the family-minded background of the basketball minds. And one thing that's different about my family versus a lot is they don't get to us by being like, oh, no, my son deserved this, he deserved that. Like, they my biggest critics before anybody. So they gonna tell the coaches to sit me down if I'm not playing good. They don't want to see me play. Like, if they see me playing bad, they gonna be like, get him out. Or they'll go tell the coach, like get him out the game. Like, he not. So I think that's one thing that helped me out a lot too. So when I came home that summer, they was yanking me out of bed, get me out of bed, go do this, go do that, let's go to the gym, let's go do that, let's go do that. And that's when I really bought into the grind. I was like, okay, like, this is what it takes. Because my sophomore year, I had an unbelievable year. It was cool, man. I was flying everywhere. I had a couple posters, a couple dunks. I went from having like 2 or 3 dunks my freshman year in games to like I was getting like 1 every other game, and I made Sports Center on a couple of them. So it was cool, man, to see hard work pay off. And I think that's a lot of things that you have to see when you're processing in life. And once I got through that, junior year came, senior year came, I was able to finish out a good career, top 1,000-point scorer, a couple other, accomplishments, and was able to win a Big Ten title, so I thought that was cool. But that was just that college life was really, we try to prepare you to be a professional. One thing Coach Penny used to say is you got to be a professional before you're a professional. And that took me a lot to understand, but I bought into that as well. And going into, transition to the league where sometimes you can feel like you don't belong. Even though I was drafted, at some times, I felt like I didn't belong. And I don't know, I couldn't really give you the real reason why I felt like that, but I knew I earned my way there, and there's just some times where I just felt like I didn't fit in really well. But at appointed times, too, I had to tell myself and work, and I had to tell myself, you got here for a reason. You were drafted for a reason. So as I got into that NBA grind, it was just different because you see all the guys. I was able to
hold on, wait. So let me ask a question.
Go ahead.
2018, you were drafted by the Utah Jazz. I was there.
Mm-hmm.
You got traded immediately to the Houston Rockets. I think a little bit of that feeling might be to the fact that you got drafted to a team with an MVP in James Harden and Carmelo Anthony, a legend, there, and Chris Paul. Talk about that experience, kind of being around those guys. I think that's might be a little bit reason why you didn't feel like you fit in. Because that's a lot of pressure. A draft pick, you're trying to prove yourself, and you're around veterans, man. Just talk about how was that like?
Shocking, surreal. Guys you've always watched, especially Carmelo. He used to be one of my favorite players. I mean, still is. But just seeing them all the time, being around them all the time, and being behind the scenes. You always watch them on the court, but just getting to know them. It was just like being a kid in a candy store. You couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe I was talking to one of my favorite players. I couldn't believe I was teammates with the MVP of the league. I couldn't believe Chris Paul was inviting me over to his crib and I was eating with his family. It was just so little things that at point times I even had to sit back and be like, take it in, I'm really here. So I think that experience for me was really great. I think my first experience of it was, like you said, trying to prove myself. We had preseason. We did a team camp before we did our actual camp for the season in the Bahamas. And I think that experience alone was pretty cool because going there, that was my first NBA action. And I got to guard Carmelo, Chris Paul, Eric Gordon, James Harden, Gerald Green. I might get switched on to Capella in the post. It's crazy because the way our defensive schemes were, we switched up a lot of things, and I got welcomed to the NBA real quick. I'm gonna tell you that. So everywhere I switched, I just felt like they was taking advantage of it. They were going at me because I was a rookie, and not that I was holding my own a little bit, but it was a couple times, man. You got dudes just making tough shots after tough shots, and I kind of looked at D'Antoni at the time, and I'm like, man, what am I supposed to do? It's like, you right there. I was like, it was like demolishing, man. It really made me feel down on myself because I'm like, man, I'm used to being able to get these stops. I used to be able to do this, but I had to keep reminding myself, like, just stay with it, just stick with it. But just really picking their brains. I think that's what really helped me out as well. Melo is really cool. I used to always talk to him. He probably think I was annoying because I used to just always talk to him. I just always want to know if any post move, anything he did. And I think he saw that and he kind of bought into it a little bit for me. He blessed me with some of his shoes. I used to tell him, I was like, man, when I was in high school, I was like, I wore your 1.5s all the time. I was like, that's all I wore my senior year, especially in the playoffs. I came back to my locker one day and I had like 4 pair, like sitting right there in front of my locker. So it was little things like that. I sat next to PJ Tucker, Sneaker King, Sneakerhead, and he took over my locker for real because he had so many kicks. I got some pictures of just both my locker and his locker like this, but it's all PJ Tucker's kicks. I can probably just like show you 4 of my shoes, but the rest of them were his. But I just think maybe, like you said, maybe it's because of the people I was around, the people I got drafted by, and it kind of made me feel like that. But I eventually picked myself up, picked my way out of it. And like I said, I always picked their brains, I always was around them, watching James Harden go for 40 points, 50 points a night. You might walk in and think he's going to get 60. Like, it just, you never knew. So I think that was a neat experience in itself.
Cool. So I want to ask you about your mindset. Obviously, how you think is, what you become in life, and your success speaks volume. For someone younger growing up, maybe in your shoes, is there something that you do, visually to prepare for games, or do you meditate, or anything like that to kind of just get prepared, and or you could talk about adversity as well. So it's kind of a long question, but just trying to figure out your mindset and how you are day to day and how you think.
Yeah, I just try to be positive. I'm a rhythm person. I love rhythm. So if I kind of get knocked off my rhythm, I try to put myself back on it. But going into games, I just try to. I listen to R&B, I listen to gospel, I listen you ain't gonna take off my beats and hear rap all the time. Like, I try to tell people that all the time. Like, people you listen to gospel before? Like, yeah. Like, I was taught to thank God for everything, and I always listen to gospel before games. That's a must for me. It helps even me out. Like I said, I'm a rhythm guy, so my melody is important to me, and that helps me with my game if you ever watch me play. So those are just like little things I like to do. I like to talk to my mom before every game. I call her and tell her I love her before every game. We talk about things just to get my mind off of it, because sometimes always thinking about basketball before you go into the games don't always help you. Like, sometimes you just need to be a clear mind, clear soul, and just kind of just relax and then go play the game. So I don't like to always be basketball before games. Like, I like to think about my family. I like to think about, the people that are important to me in my life. And obviously when it's time to pick up the scout report, or, coach comes in and talk, then it's, it's a different mindset. But going into game days, I like to be relaxed. I don't like to really be all hyped up. Now, some games I will be hyped up more than others, because you might have something that means more to you. You might have different incentives. You might not like a dude that you've been playing against your whole career. Like, it might be something. So you're going to have them games. But, I would just say, if you're a young person, like, looking up into it, like, or trying to find your way, just find who you are. Like, be who you are. I think that's the biggest thing that you can be, in my opinion. And then as far as adversity goes, it's always going to be adversity. As we know, it's always going to be things in life that we don't like or we have to fight through. So I would just always say it's okay to hurt. Like, it's okay to feel pain. I think our stigma as men, we're supposed to be tough guys, or no one's supposed to see us emotional or cry. Like, it's okay to hurt. And I think that's a misperception for a lot of kids today. And then those who do show emotions, like, they get bashed or get, as kids like to say, like, clown or whatever it may be, because you're showing emotions. But if I had to tell kids or anybody, like, don't be afraid to show that emotion. Like, that's what makes you a man, in my opinion. Like, you showing your pain is what's going to make people see your true self and your true colors, because people are going to understand you better. When you hold it in, you try to act tough, then people get a narrative of you that's not really you. So then when they're even tougher on you, or they're even this or that, like, everybody just got to be able to understand each other, I feel like. So when I feel like you're fighting through adversity, like, keep going.
Yeah.
It's going to get better. Yeah, you're going to have some rainy days. It's going to be really bad. Some days you feel like you're not going to make it, but it's going to get better. And you just got to keep trusting the process, keep putting your faith. If you're religious, if you're not religious, whoever you pray to, if it's God, like whatever it is that you are, like I'm not a judgmental person. Like whatever it is that helps you find peace, go find that.
Yeah. That's a real big, mature statement you said, man, because I went through a lot of that in college. I went through a lot of adversity early. I didn't have discipline when I got to Grand Valley State University, where I played 4 years. And I was internalizing a lot of emotion that I had, because I started off well as a starter of my freshman year, and I hit a rough patch where I wasn't playing as good, and I was coming late to practice. I lost my starting position, and I just kind of held things in, and I became that tough guy with the chip on my shoulder, and I wasn't able to let go and express my emotions and turn things around. It took me probably about a year to do that.
Right.
But that's just a little bit of the journey as a college athlete that people don't get to see all the time. They just see the final product, which is the game. But there's many long nights and days and mornings before that. So
exactly.
Talk about the things that you're going through now. So you were drafted, you spent some time with the Houston Rockets. Talk a little bit about the journey, the ups and downs, and where you are now.
Everybody sees, being drafted, or I would get calls, say, Vin on TV, or people be tagging me on Instagram, like, look at Vin, and that's cool, man. It's cool and all, but like you said, people don't see behind the scenes, and there was a lot of things I had to go through my rookie year with, like I said, expecting, they expected a lot out of me, and which I was, perfectly okay with. But as you say, adversity hits sometimes, and we all react differently. I came into a situation where I felt like I was going to play, and instead of me, really reminding myself every day to go get that, I felt like I kind of expected it some days, and some days that hindered my performances. And I went through a rough patch as my rookie year because I had some, things happen. Benny got shot, my cousin got killed, and it kind of sent me to a depression because that was somebody who was a road dog to, me, my dad, and my family, because whenever my dad needed somebody to drive 3.5 hours to West Lafayette or drive to Michigan or drive wherever, like, Benny was always there. Like, I knew I could put Benny's name down for a ticket and he'd be at the games. And so, and when I got drafted, he was the first person in Middletown I knew who had my jersey. He put on Facebook, first dude had my jersey, and he was just family, man, and I couldn't understand that. And obviously, things happen in our lives, and God does things that we never really understand as humans. And just me being a young guy during that time, I wasn't playing well. I was going through some things with that, and it wasn't because I wasn't prepared or I didn't, work at it. It was just off the simple fact that some games are just not going to go your way, and you're not going to always be able to go out there and shoot the ball well, or sometimes you just might be terrible in defense. Like, you have your nights, and you got to control what you can control as far as your effort. But I think it really got to me because I had that happen. Benny got killed. I had that happen, and then I really started going into a depression because I couldn't go to my escape. Basketball was my escape, and when basketball wasn't going well for me, my off-the-court stuff, having that tragedy wasn't helping me. I wasn't around family. I was all the way down to Rio Grande Valley at the time, which was the G League team for the Houston Rockets. I was a two-way player, so I had to have, I was with the affiliate team half the time and with the Rockets half the time. And it was just a lot going on for me, man, and I couldn't understand or couldn't get a grasp of life, and I couldn't get my basketball career going. I got hurt, so a lot of things just started showering down on me. So my adversity my first year as a rookie was all bad. And I think it really taught me how to grow as a human. I had some people in my life at the time who were really important to me, and they really played their roles really well for me, because if it wasn't for them at that point in time in my life, I probably would have just stayed depressed and just been in that depression state. I wasn't really telling people. Like, I was still, checking up on everybody that I knew. Like, I wanted to make sure they were good. Just because I wasn't doing good, I didn't want them to think, I wasn't worried about them. But they would ask me, like, how you doing? Man, I'm good. Like, I'm good. And my mom would call me, like, I can hear it. But my mom didn't want to try to force that out. But she knew I wasn't okay. And it's just stuff you got to go through. And like I said, like, most people would be like, man, you got money, you in the league, like, you this, you that, you get to be around the Rockets, this, that, like, what you depressed about? Like, you don't never really know what somebody's going through until they tell you, or it's too late and they take their own life, and then it's so when people say that, and I see guys come out about depression, Paul George, how he said he was depressed in the bubble, like, you just don't know. You don't know anybody's personal life. And just because you see the glamour, you got to still be able to see the ugly and understand at the end of the day, everybody's human. So just having those moments as early on, fighting through those moments, I think really helped me rebrand myself and build myself back up, because I had to fight through that, and I had to find, the purpose, and I had to remember why I was doing the things I was doing, and what would Benny want me to do if he was here. So I think those things were always things I was thinking about, and I wanted for myself, like you said, it's always been a kid's dream to make it in the NBA, play in the NBA. So I had to keep that upon myself, to tell myself, like, you got to keep pushing. And I was able to turn it around and able to start playing well towards the end of the year, and it kind of boosted me up for my following year. So.
Cool.
Talk about transitioning from being in the structure, high school athlete, college athlete, and then now you kind of floating as an NBA athlete. Do you still use this discipline? Does that carry over to your life? Like, how do you use basketball and the lessons in everyday life?
I think it's huge, because when you first get to college, you get slammed with everything. Like, you get tutors, you got to sign in for breakfast, you got academic meetings, you got to meet with your academic coach, you got class all day, then you got to leave class, go straight to practice, you got to leave practice, go straight to tutor, and go from tutoring to study, and that was every day. And I think when we got there, we was just like, man, they just jamming my schedule. They don't want us to have free times, because off days wasn't an off day. If you got an off day, we only got practice, but you got this meeting, that meeting, that meeting, that meeting. And I think what it did for me personally, how I looked back at the time, I hated it, but it helped me keep that structure, because these are things that you should be doing in your life, or having some type. It was showing you how to have organization in your life, because when you get out here in the real world, or you are a professional, your coach, your boss, whatever it is, whatever your workforce is or your work field is, they're not going to be on you every day like, do this, do that, do this, do that, and give you some type of punishment. They're going to be like, you're fired. Yeah. Like, they're going to bring in the next dude who understands, or the next woman who understands and wants to work. And that's what it taught me. It was just like, I had people that always wanted to be on me, and I had to go back and realize that. And I think I understood it more once I graduated college, more than I did when I was there, because I always just looked at it like, man, they jamming my schedule. Like, I can't get free. I can't do this. I can't do that. But when I got out of college and I got into the league, and people think when you're in the league, like, you don't have any time. You got so much time. That's why dudes golf. Dudes find hobby when they get to the league. Some dudes like to rap. Like, but after being in the league, like, you figure that out, because you just got so much downtime that you don't even think you got. You get up, you get, practices early. Whether you go in to lift, get extra shots up or anything, like, that's on you. I mean, you might, if you're a big name, you might have some event to go to. You might have to go show up, make an appearance. But other than that, you got the rest of the day. So what you do with the rest of the day is up to you. But like I said, like, the team's looking at you. So if you out partying, or you out doing this, if they see you out in the club every night, you not in the gym enough, they go, okay, release you. They ain't gonna be like, hey, go get in the gym, or make sure you taking care of your body. They just gonna be like, okay, go sign the next dude, release you, and then now you out of a job. So I think college, as far as, like I said, when scheduling, like, that helped me. That discipline helped me be able to be like, all right, like, stay disciplined and be able to do this, because you don't have somebody here that's just going to be on your shoulder, tapping your shoulder the whole time. They're just going to replace you with the next one.
Yeah. So speaking of hobbies, outside of basketball, what do you like?
Man, I play video games. I like to go Top Golf. It's whatever. I always up for adventures, but I just like to kind of relax and chill. I'm a video game dude, man. That's all me. But I'll go Top Golf. I'll go to movies. I go bowling. I go to main event. Yeah. I do things like that. But I haven't really picked up on a new hobby yet. I said I want to really learn how to golf. but I don't know if I got the patience for that. I ain't even gonna lie to y'all. So I don't know, man. I'm still trying to figure it out. Like, I used to like writing, so I might pick back up into that. That used to be one of my hobbies growing up, but we'll see.
Cool. All right, man. Last question. Any advice for the youth? There's plenty of kids probably in Middletown, Ohio, and all over the world that want to be in your position. What would your advice be to them?
It's cool to be smart. It's cool to be an athlete, and it's cool to be in school. It's cool to be kids sitting at a game. It's cool to be whatever it is to keep your nose clean. And I think that's a misconception for kids nowadays with everything that's going on. Like, they think it's cool to be skipping school or cool to be in the streets. And as a kid growing up, I used to be the one to be at the games. I used to want to be sitting in the stands, like cheering on, and seeing what my future could possibly be. So I just want kids to realize that, man, like, it's cool to be alive, like, and it's cool to care about people, because I think that's one thing that we just really don't accept. And as us being African American males too, that's one thing. Like, we take our lives for granted sometimes until tragic events happen, and then we got to go up in flames to get a message across, when we should always be spreading that message. And it's always been happening. Like, we ain't gonna sit here and act like it's never happened before, but obviously social media helps put more things out. But that's just something that we have to keep going as ourselves, and as we keep going and progressing. Like, things y'all doing here, we'll open up the studio. Like, it's things that give kids life. Like, you don't got to be an NBA player to be successful in life. Like, if that's your dream, chase your dream. Always chase your dream. I hate when people try to hinder somebody else's dream because they're scared of their own. Like, don't be scared of your own dream. If your dream is your dream, go after it and keep going. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay, but don't let somebody else take you away from your dream. And it's easier said than done, but I think that's one thing kids should focus on. Like, you're gonna have school teachers, you're gonna have your friends, and I think some kids even have their parents telling them, like, they can't do that, but chase it. You never know, like, and set it as high as you can, because if you set it as high as you can, it's still available for you. You're gonna get it. If I say I just want to be in the NBA, I'm like, nah. Like, if I really told people what I really want to accomplish in the NBA, they're gonna look at me like I'm crazy. But it's gotten me to where I really want it to be. And so even though I might not share my dreams, like, I set my dreams as high as possible. So even if I do fall down to a certain extent, I'm still in the foundation of my dream. So always keep that in mind, and always put your best foot forward, and respect everyone around you. Respect your peers, and respect, your parents. I think that's a big thing too. You only get one set of parents, and whether it's grandpas, uncles, mom or dad, whatever, may have happened in your life, like, love one another and love each other.
Great answer.
Great answer. Yeah, for sure, man. Vince Edwards, much respect to you, man. It's been a blessing to watch you grow as a person and a basketball player. And I'm very thankful that you took the time to come here. It took us like 45 minutes to set up. But, man, much luck to you. And anybody out there, follow him on social media. Check him out, and stay tuned. Thank you.
And when you come up, stay down. You heard?